Hello and welcome back once again to the Wrestling Group. I'm your host Ryan, and today we are going to be ranking every AEW World Championship match from the Double or Nothing pay-per-views. Obviously, we're going to rank them from the worst to the best. So there have been 6 Double or Nothing pay-per-views so far, obviously with the 7th coming up just this weekend. And the first one was back in 2019. But that one didn't hold an AEW World title match as the pay-per-view took place before the first ever AEW World Champion was crowned. So the main event of that pay-per-view was Jericho vs Omega, with the winner facing off against Hangman Page, who had won obviously the Casino Battle Royal in the opening match of the night. And the winner would face Hangman to crown the inaugural AEW Championship. So obviously that pay-per-view has not been included in our list. So effectively it's a top 5 list, as we've got 5 to rank. We will rank these 5 matches, as I said before, from worst down to best, with that being crowned as the greatest AEW World Championship match at the Double or Nothing pay-per-view so far. As always, feel free to leave your rankings in the comment section below, and of course don't forget to hit that subscribe button while you do. So in at number 5 is Hangman Page versus CM Punk for the AEW World Championship at Double or Nothing 2022. So when I originally thought to do this video, I had this match actually placed higher, until of course I rewatched it. And on recent viewing, I realised this match was generally not that good at all. Now, it's not an anti-CM Punk thing because, he did have some really good matches in his AEW run. His matches against MJF, Samoa Joe, Dax Harwood, Kojima, to name a few. But this, for me, unfortunately, just isn't one of them. So the match started off slow but failed for the most part to get out of first gear. It went on for about 10 minutes longer than really what it needed to be and contained multiple botches. Punk's attempts to do the buckshot lariat and ends up on his ass. Not once, but in fact twice. Like, come on, dude, after failing for the first time, why would you think that 3 minutes later you'd be able to do it again? The finish was poor too. One, having Hangman going to use the AEW Championship made absolute zero sense at all. He had been a proper babyface throughout his run and didn't need to use the title to beat the likes of Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson, but we were set to believe that he needed it to beat CM Punk. It didn't quite sit well with me. To end the match, Hangman went for the buckshot, and for some reason they both sort of ended up facing each other for about 2 or 3 seconds. So I must say, to be honest with you, it seemed like the timing was off. He sort of jumps over, but he doesn't even have his arm up to go for the lariat, and they both sort of just look at each other awkwardly. Punk does some spinny, twisty neck thing. Looks like he's going for a neck breaker, and then he doesn't, and then picks him up and hits him with a GTS for the win. A terrible end to a decent reign for Hangman Adam Page, unfortunately. And as a fun fact, this is the only time the AEW Championship has actually changed hands at a Double or Nothing pay-per-view. And it's coming as our worst match. What's that tell you? So in at number 4, we have Jon Moxley versus Brody Lee for the AEW World Championship at Double or Nothing 2020. So as I said before, obviously the 2019 Double or Nothing pay-per-view didn't have an AEW World title match on the card. So this technically was the first time that the championship was defended at a Double or Nothing pay-per-view. Now going into this match, neither guy had lost a singles match since the beginning of the year. Brody Lee and the Dark Order had attacked Jon Moxley and made away with the AEW World Championship a few weeks before the pay-per-view. We then obviously have Brody Lee claiming to be the new champion, even though he'd not actually beat Moxley for it, and even would wear it around his waist. There's no doubt in my mind that obviously if Brody hadn't sadly passed away, then he would definitely have been AEW World Champion at some point. They always booked him from the start as a very big deal. Now, for the most part in this match, Brody had control with the world champion Moxley fighting from underneath. Something, obviously, which at the time we were not used to seeing in an AEW ring. In fact, even since, you don't really see Jon Moxley fighting from underneath, do you? Both guys on occasion would use their surroundings to try and gain the upper hand, including the giant poker cards, which were part of the Double or Nothing set. The finish of this one was great. Mox hit the paradigm shift on Brody, putting both men through the entrance ramp, which would bust open Brody Lee. Back in the ring, and Brody goes for his discus clothesline, but is nailed with yet another paradigm shift, but manages to kick out of the pin attempt. Mox then starts striking Brody's cut before putting him in a sleeper and puts out Brody. He then retains the championship, but of course keeping the challenger Brody Lee strong in defeat. So that is number 4. So we move on to number 3. And we're looking at Swerve Strickland versus Christian Cage for the AEW World Championship at Double or Nothing 2024. So just last year's one comes in at number 3. So Swerve is one of the best AEW champions that we've had in the company, and it's solid matches like this that makes that statement true. Christian Cage is, for me, on the best run of his career these last few years since coming to AEW. That's character-wise and, of course, in-ring-wise too. Christian and Swerve had a history going into this match, as just the year before at AEW All In, they had teamed together in a tag team coffin match against Darby Allin and Sting. The match started out slow but would pick up pace as we got shenanigans aplenty from obviously Christian Cage and his followers of Nick Wayne and Killswitch before they were sent to the back by the ref, which received a massive pop from the crowd. This was Swerve's first title defense, so going into this match, no one really had Christian for the win. But towards the end, you were on edge as you thought just maybe Christian can actually pick up a win here, especially when he nailed the kill switch. And that, my friends, is why I consider Christian to be one of the greatest of all time. Although you don't expect him to win, when you're then watching it, he makes it believable that, you know what, maybe he just does sneak this one. To end this one, though, Christian is caught going for a move mid-air by a house call kick, followed by a Swerve stomp and another house call for Swerve to pick up the pinfall and to retain successfully in his first AEW World Championship defense. So in at number 2, we have Kenny Omega versus Pac versus Orange Cassidy for the AEW World Championship, Double or Nothing 2021. This was a really good match, and honestly, to be fair, I did go back and forth on if this match should in fact be number 1, but it just missed out on that top spot, so it sits in at number 2. When you talk of underrated matches, I think this has to be in the conversation at least of the last 5 years anyway. Many forget just how good this match was, and I remember it being good, but on a rewatch I realised it was much better than what I'd originally remembered. Although Kenny was the clear favourite going into this match, Pac actually had previous victories over both Orange Cassidy and Kenny Omega. And of course, with a triple threat, the champ doesn't even have to be the one to take the pinfall. This was in the middle of Kenny's belt collector run and his alliance with Don Callis, his best run in AEW so far for me. This was one of those matches that were booked for the sickos by our Tony Khan. This one started off pretty fast-paced and only took off from there. There were legit times in the match where you did believe that any of the 3 could have come out as the winner. The addition of Don Callis on commentary is always welcomed by me. He just makes me laugh and makes it that much more enjoyable. And now to end this one, we had Orange Cassidy looking like he was going to pull off the ultimate underdog story. He nailed Pac with an orange punch, then went to Omega and landed an orange punch on the champion, with Callis then proclaimed shit on commentary as he then made his way ringside. Another orange punch to Pac, and he covered him 1-2. But Don Callis then pulled the ref from the ring, stopping the pin. And of course, there's no disqualification in a triple threat match, so the match then continued. At one point, Pac has Orange Cassidy locked in the Brutalizer submission, and Omega stamps on Pac to break it up. Pac refuses to break up the submission attempt. Then Don Callis calls for Omega to nail the referee. So Omega takes out the ref. Then Don Callis throws Kenny Omega each one of his 4 championship titles, and one at a time he nails Pac in the head with each title, and obviously the last one being the AEW World title. Orange Cassidy then hits another orange punch on Kenny Omega, and Aubrey Edwards runs down to count the pin, but during this, Omega manages to counter it into a crucifix pin of his own and picks up the victory. A great end to a great match, and all 3 came out looking strong. So that only leaves us with one choice, and in at number 1 and the greatest AEW World Championship match at Double or Nothing so far is MJF versus Darby Allin versus Sammy Guevara versus Jungle Boy Jack Perry for the AEW World Championship at Double or Nothing 2023. Now, these 4 guys were obviously dubbed by Tony Khan as the 4 pillars of AEW, the cornerstones of the company going forward into the future. The build to this one had been pretty decent, starting from a promo battle between all 4 guys, which for Jack Perry and Sammy Guevara were the best promos that they'd done up to that point. They each get a special entrance going into this match, as Sammy obviously gets cue cards with Tay Mello, and they announce that they are in fact having a baby. Darby Allin gets a video package featuring a Las Vegas Elvis impersonator, and MJF gets a throne whilst wearing the Devil's mask. The only thing that may have made this match even slightly better would have been if it was in fact an elimination match, but this was just a 1 fall to a finish. All 4 guys at this time could be considered as fan favourites. There was a section of the crowd cheering for each of them to get the win. This was 30 minutes of great in-ring action. We had each guy doing dives to the outside. We had a standoff of strikes in the ring between all 4. We had MJF trying to pay Sammy money to help with his unborn child if he lay down and took the pinfall. And my favourite spot of the night, where all 4 guys hit their mentors' finishes on the others. So obviously we had Darby doing Sting's death drop. We had Jack Perry using Christian's kill switch. We had Sammy Guevara using the code breaker, and of course Maxwell using the crossroads, which of course gets the biggest pop of the 4. In the build to this match, MJF had actually said he could beat Darby Allin with a headlock takeover, meaning he could beat him basically with one of the simplest moves a wrestler could use. At one point, Darby nails MJF with a skateboard, connects with a coffin drop, and then uses a headlock takeover to the joy of the fans to try for the victory, but Jungle Boy breaks it off. At the finish of this one, MJF brought the AEW Championship into the match. Of course, no disqualifications in a fatal 4-way. At one stage, Perry had the title in hand, but couldn't bring himself to nail Darby Allin with it and get the win, as obviously he was a proper facey face at the time and didn't want to cheat to win. Darby then gets the upper hand on Jack Perry and goes up to the top for a coffin drop, but in the meantime MJF quickly places the title on Perry so that when Darby then jumps off, he in fact nails the title. He then connects with the most devastating move in professional wrestling, the side lock, side headlock takeover for the pinfall and retains the AEW World Championship in what is our greatest AEW World Championship match in Double or Nothing history so far. So do you agree with our picks? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, let me know who you think is going to be winning the matches at AEW Double or Nothing this weekend. And of course, as always, don't forget to like, leave us a comment, and of course, subscribe to the wrestling group today.